You know those moments when you're about to make a decision and it feels like time stops or slows down? What feels like moments turn to minutes, to hours, like, you're stuck in quicksand or something. Maybe it's when you're about to tell your crush you like them and you've been meaning to for months, but now you're about to go home for a summer vacation, so you've got to do it now. Maybe it's when you're typing that resignation email to your manager at a job that you know just isn't for you. Or maybe it's when you're about to tell your parents for the first time how you felt growing up. All the times when you wanted to say something but didn't. Or maybe you didn't have the words or the courage, but you do now. What I've come to realize in these moments is I've definitely had my fair share over the years, is that it feels like time slows down because you start to get in your head, right? You have this decision in front of you, and you go this way or that way, but you get in your head about which one to make. You start coming up with pros and cons. You start trying to, rationalize your way into a decision. You're trying to make the decision that makes more sense, the right decision, not the wrong decision. And you get so hung up on wanting to be right, to not make a mistake, to make the decision that makes sense, that sometimes you don't make that decision at all. I've definitely been there too. Been on the end where I haven't made decisions, and all I was left with was, what if? What if I had just said that or done that? Just as much as I was wondering, what if, when I was sitting there trying to make the decision in the first place. In one situation, one decision, you're left with regret. The other, you're not. But really, what I've come to realize through these moments and through making a decision, whether it turned out to be the one I expected or wanted or not, is that you already know the decision you want to make, you need to make, right? It's sort of like when people tell you to flip a coin and you already know, like, whether for that split second when it's spinning in the air what you want it to land on. Your heart knows, right? Your heart knows, but instead your mind has jumped in and it's starting to try to put things into logic and order and equations and sense making and all this, right? You know, but the heart doesn't know any of that. It doesn't know what makes sense or what's right and wrong or anything. It just knows what is, what's true. And that's it. And it's taken me enough of these moments when I've listened to my heart, even when my mind was telling me, don't do this, it doesn't make sense, or whatever. Life has always turned out okay, better than I could have ever imagined. Because that's the thing, right? When you look back at your life, and you look at all of these moments that don't seem to connect, they don't make sense in the moment. But later on, when you're looking backwards, everything is so clear. It was meant to unfold that way. Your heart meant for it to unfold that way. Because even if the outcome wasn't the one that you wanted or expected, not the shape, size, and color you were looking for, maybe in that moment you can't recognize what's going on. But later down the road, you'll see it as a crucial moment, something that led to, growth or transformation, or to, a synchronous meeting of some sort that you could have never predicted. And when you're looking back, you say, nothing makes sense. But that's just how life is. It's just that your mind is so used to, you know, being so orderly and logical and rational. But life isn't like that. Life is beyond explanation, right? It's just like why you can't explain why you prefer vanilla over chocolate. You just can't. Can you really try to rationalize your way into why you do? No. You just know. And I know it's just ice cream, but those decisions, the ones I'm talking about when it feels like time slows down or it feels like you're about to make, some sort of monumentous shift in your life, it's the same thing. You know which decision you want to make. You know what direction you want to go. And it's more a question of, will you allow it to unfold? Will you entrust life to take you where you're meant to? And so often it is that first kind of big decision or moment that's the hardest one. Because you spent so much of your life conditioned and used to, you know, living from the mind rather from the heart, that it feels unfamiliar. It feels daunting to just let go of control right? Because the mind seeks control, it seeks order. The heart doesn't. When you make that first decision and you allow life to unfold and you see how things connect and you see how life turns out in the long run, you start to build that faith and trust in those moments because you know it's your heart, you know it's life telling you this is important. Let me take care of this for you. Let me take care of you, right? And there's this quote that goes, the mind is a great servant, but a lousy master. And so many of us are used to, myself included for a long, long time, living with our minds as our master, not our servant. Because those are just the environments we're used to. But chances are, when you live with the mind as your master, you don't end up making those decisions that you want to because they don't make sense. Your mind won't allow that to happen. And you're left racked with regret and what ifs. What I've come to realize is that there's nothing wrong with the mind. You have one, right? You just can't get rid of it, right? But it's about allowing your heart to lead and the mind to follow. Your heart tells you the direction to go, right? That feeling that is just unexplainable. It's telling you to go that way, to explore that path, that decision. And all you got to do is commit, make the decision, and let the mind figure out how, right? That's what it's good for. The mind is great for logistics and planning and, hows and all that. Like if your heart is telling you to move abroad, commit to it. Your mind will figure out how. But if you let the mind make that decision, all you're gonna be doing is looking at all like the logistics, the headaches, the obstacles, the roadblocks, and so on and so forth. That'll keep you from making that decision to move abroad. If you think about, making a decision to change careers, to go in a completely different path, your heart is telling you to. But if you let your mind lead, it's not going to make sense. All you're going to be thinking about is, the lost opportunity cost that you could be earning at your current job. All those years and, time and money and energy spent in that degree just gone out the window. What if I'm unhireable? What if like I'm not able to, X, Y, and Z. But if the mind leads, you're not going to make that decision. But if the heart does, everything else will follow and you'll figure out a way. That's what I've realized the past few years when I've had these moments where it feels like I was making a shift in my life. And the more I've leaned into the heart rather than the mind, the more I've just put my faith in it, life has brought me to places I could have never imagined. The growth and transformation I could have never imagined. Moments now when I look back and I'm just like, am I really here? It makes no sense. Life is crazy, right? But it only doesn't make sense. It's only crazy to the mind. Life, that's just what is. It's just doing the dance. And this is just how it goes. And if there's one, I guess, gosh, like motto or rule I live by, it's to just let it rip. I even have it tattooed on my arm now. So when you're faced with those decisions, when it feels like time is slowing down or it pauses, you've got a decision in front of you. You already know what to do. You know what the heart wants, what you're meant to do. So just let it rip. See what happens. And you'll figure out everything else later. It'll be okay. More than okay. But only if you allow life to unfold to take care of you. So if you feel like you have one of these moments recently, or you feel like one of these decisions is coming up, I encourage you, just as like an experiment even, to just try letting it rip. Listen to your heart, not your mind. Just like when you were a kid, you had no sense of right or wrong, logic and reason. You just followed that indescribable feeling that goes beyond anything you can comprehend, and just see what happens. So with that, grateful for you. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best with any of these sort of decisions that are coming your way. Everything's going to be okay.